Imagine Alex stepping into an elevator. The doors close, and he notices something strange. Every other person is facing the back wall. Alex knows the doors are behind him. He knows there is no reason to turn around. But after a few uncomfortable seconds, he slowly rotates until he is facing the same direction as everyone else. Nobody threatened him. Nobody even spoke. The crowd simply made the wrong behavior feel safer than standing alone. Most of us like to believe we would be different. We picture ourselves as the one person who trusts the evidence, speaks up, and refuses to follow something obviously wrong. But conformity rarely announces itself. It does not say, "I am controlling you now." It feels more like a tiny doubt. What if they know something I do not? What if I misunderstood? What if everyone notices that I am the strange one? Following other people is not automatically foolish. It is one of the shortcuts that makes social life possible. If a crowd suddenly runs out of a building, stopping to conduct your own investigation could be dangerous. If every local avoids one road during a storm, they may know it is flooded. Other people can serve as information, especially when a situation is unfamiliar or uncertain. The problem begins when the crowd is not using independent information. Imagine the first person turns around by mistake. The second person assumes the first knows something. The third trusts the first two. Soon 10 people are facing a blank wall, and each one believes the other 9 must have a reason. The crowd looks informed, but the entire chain began with one person who knew nothing. In the 1950s, psychologist Solomon Asch created a simple way to measure this pressure. A group of young men were shown one vertical line and 3 comparison lines. Their task was to say which comparison line had the same length as the original. The correct answer was deliberately obvious. Under ordinary conditions, people made mistakes less than 1% of the time, but the group was not what it appeared to be. Everyone except one participant had been instructed to give the same wrong answer on certain trials. The real participant answered near the end, after hearing person after person confidently choose a line that was clearly too short or too long. You can almost see the conflict on his face. His eyes tell him the answer is 2. The room tells him the answer is 3. He looks at the cards again. He hesitates. Sometimes he smiles nervously or lowers his voice. Then, on a surprising number of trials, he says 3. Across Asch's main series, participants accepted the unanimous majority's wrong answer in 36.8% of these critical judgments. About 1/4 remained completely independent and never agreed with the incorrect majority. That matters. The experiment did not show that everyone blindly follows. It showed that a clear answer can become psychologically difficult to say when saying it makes you a minority of one. Researchers often describe 2 forces behind this behavior. The first is informational influence. Alex wonders whether the group knows something he does not. In an uncertain world, trusting several people can feel more reasonable than trusting one pair of eyes. The second is normative influence. Alex may still believe he is correct, but he does not want the awkwardness of public disagreement. Humans depend on groups for friendship, cooperation, status, and safety. Being rejected has a real social cost, so the mind learns to notice what behavior will keep us accepted. These 2 forces can blend together. First, you stay quiet because you do not want conflict. Then, after hearing the same opinion repeatedly, you begin to question whether you were ever right. Public agreement can slowly become private doubt. The most revealing part of Asch's work was not simply that people conformed. It was what happened when the group changed. A single opponent had little influence. 2 created noticeable pressure. When the wrong majority grew to 3, conformity rose sharply. Adding more people after that produced much less additional power. 3 unanimous voices could already feel like a complete social reality. But when one other person broke the unanimity, the majority lost much of its force. A truthful partner reduced wrong answers to roughly 1/4 of the level produced by a unanimous majority. Even a dissenter who gave a different wrong answer could make independent judgment easier. The participant did not always need someone to agree with him. He needed proof that disagreement was allowed. This is why one voice can change an entire room. Picture a meeting where a manager presents a weak idea and asks what everyone thinks. The first employee says it sounds great. The second employee has doubts, but now disagreement feels more expensive. She says it looks promising. By the time the question reaches Alex, he is not evaluating the idea alone. By the time the question reaches Alex, he is not evaluating the idea alone. He is evaluating the idea plus the risk of opposing his manager and co-workers. Alex says he likes it. Someone else who also had doubts hears Alex and assumes the support is genuine. The result is an illusion. Nearly everyone appears confident, while nearly everyone is privately uncertain. The same pattern can appear in smaller moments. A restaurant with a long line seems better than an empty one. A product with thousands of positive ratings feels safer than an unfamiliar unfamiliar alternative. A confident answer in a group chat can shape the conversation before anyone checks whether it is correct. Visible agreement becomes evidence, even when the agreement itself was created by people watching one another. Online, this can happen at enormous speed. Before you examine an argument, you may see its likes, reposts, comments, and the status of the person who posted it. Those signals do not force you to agree, but they enter the room before your own judgment has finished forming. When people copy a popular reaction, the reaction becomes even more popular, giving the next person stronger social proof. Still, the lesson is not to reject every majority. Automatically opposing the crowd is just conformity in reverse. Crowds can preserve useful knowledge, coordinate behavior, and combine many perspectives. A line forms because people accept a shared rule. A team works because its members adjust to one another. If every person ignored all social information, ordinary life would become exhausting. The real question is whether the group contains independent judgments or copies of the same judgment. 10 people reaching the same conclusion separately can be valuable evidence. 10 people repeating the first confident speaker may add almost no new information. So how can Alex protect his judgment without becoming the person who disagrees with everything? First, he can form an initial opinion before seeing the crowd's answer. In a meeting, participants can write down their judgment before discussion begins. This does not guarantee they are correct, but it prevents the loudest early voice from becoming everyone's starting point. Second, Alex can separate evidence from social discomfort. He can ask, what new fact has the group shown me? If the only new fact is that disagreement feels embarrassing, then his information has not changed. Only the social price has. Third, a group can make dissent normal. A leader can speak last instead of first. Opinions can be collected privately. Someone can be assigned to test the popular position. The goal is not to manufacture conflict, it is to make honest disagreement less costly before false agreement takes over. Finally, Alex can remember the power of one visible dissenter. Speaking first is uncomfortable, but it may give several silent people permission to admit what they already believe. The first voice does not have to deliver a perfect argument. Sometimes it only needs to prove that the room is not unanimous. Now return to the elevator. Everyone is facing the back wall, and Alex feels the familiar pull to rotate. Independence does not require him to stubbornly face the doors. Maybe the elevator has 2 exits. Maybe the others really do know something, but this time he pauses long enough to ask why. That pause is the difference. The crowd can be evidence, but it is not a substitute for evidence. Being independent does not mean never following other people. It means making sure you are following a reason, not merely the person standing in front of you.